not to abandon the use of the indelible ink.
Not all voters went through successfully with the biometric verification device. Some were manually verified. Myself, I had almost completed 90% of the process. Indeed, I have signed the manual verification form before the BVD device started to function. Many other voters, Mr. Speaker, went through voting without using the BVD machine. If they present themselves to another polling station to vote, because the verification was manual, the BVD device there, if it is functioning, will not capture the information of the earlier vote the person has conducted.
Some people got manually verified. And indeed, if we're not too sure of the synchronization of the database nationally, if that is the case, Mr. Speaker, and a person who goes to vote does not submit to the biometric verification and moves to another station where he has to also be verified manually, it may be a recipe for double voting or multiple voting. So it's important that we complement it with the indelible ink.
Intermittently, you get the device going off and on. When they even wanted to verify how many people has the machine recorded, some of the devices could not do it because it went off. Because of the lack of indelible ink, you have people who had not voted being challenged that, oh, I saw you voted already. If we take this to the main election, Mr. Speaker, we may end up with a situation that we will not be able to manage. And I think that this House should call the Electoral Commission to order.
The Electoral Commission must reactivate the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, as well as engaging the Special Budget Committee and the members of this House on quarterly basis, so that we're able to build consensus going into 2024.
The House has meanwhile approved an amount of 786,934,764 cedis for the Electoral Commission to be expended in the year 2024. Members, however, raised concerns over a shortfall of the Commission's budget, compelling the Speaker to give a directive.
A shortfall of 140,722,023.63 Ghana cedis. I can only direct that the Minister of Finance should take this on board and source the appropriate funding to make sure that this is captured as part of the budget of the Electoral Commission.
The House urged the Finance Ministry to release the funds for the Commission on time for a successful general elections in 2024. The House also approved the budget estimates for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources.
Let's head to the courts now. And 3 nominees of the President to the Supreme Court bench vetted in Parliament have to return to the Appointments Committee to answer further questions if a confidential report from the security agencies raises suspicions about their backgrounds. Justices of the Court of Appeal, Anthony Henry Kofi, Yao Asare Donko and Richard J. Frimpong appeared before the Appointments Committee of Parliament. Duke Mentor Poku sat through the proceedings and reports.
A matter of convention and practice at the vetting committee, confidential security reports on nominees are presented to members to aid in the process of scrutiny. But this time, the reports were late, prompting the chairman of the committee to indicate to nominees that they may have to reappear before the committee.
2 reports we are still expecting from the security services. If the reports come and there's a need to recall you, we will. If we don't recall you, it means that there's nothing further to be investigated from.
Justice Anthony Kofi had further questions to answer about the filing of his taxes per the record provided by the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Do you have a copy of your tax clearance before you?
I was notified that I needed to produce a tax clearance certificate. So I contacted our division. We have a division, a salary division, and they asked for my salary. I asked them to print the salary that I have for over a 3-year period. And then they took it and submitted it to GRA. They brought this to me. I didn't actually go to GRA myself. They submitted it, and then they brought this. And I saw Amisha Dayawusu and Amwa at the bottom. So I assumed that it was proper document coming from a proper source.
We will ask the Ghana Revenue Authority to explain to us how come a person who is paid every month and whose taxes are deducted at source every month is declared to be zero rated all through. We will ask Ghana Revenue to clarify that for us.
Justice Yawasari Darko answered questions on a wide range of issues, including reforms in legal education.
The problems that have saddled the issue of legal education in the past has been the issue of infrastructure and absence of facilities to host the increasingly large number of people who want to practice as lawyers. So if, as a nation, we want to really enhance legal education, that would be my first point of call. How do we enhance the infrastructure, the logistics, the resources to be able to train lawyers?
Justice Richard Jeffrey Pong was also tested in a number of legal and non-legal issues. He was quizzed on the controversial anti-gay bill.
My position on it is what the law says. Because as a judge, I must be obedient to the law. Fortunately, the bill is in this House. Comments are being made by stakeholders. I expect that this House, Honorable House, will consider all the comments and the issues that have come up, so that at the end of the day, they will come up with a law which will benefit every Ghanaian.
And a bid to ensure accurate records and eliminate ghost workers from the payroll system, the Controller and Accountant General's Department has issued a stern warning to all workers. Now, the department has announced that from February 2024, the salaries of workers on its payroll who fail to furnish their National Identification Authority NIA numbers will be seized. Now, this decision comes after a series of meetings with relevant stakeholders, which resulted in an agreement on timelines for registration. Now, the Controller and Accountant General Kwesi Kwening Bosompim has entreated all government workers to register for their cards.
Chairman, protecting the public purse is one of the functions we passionately pursue. For this reason, despite the numerous controls we continue to introduce in the management of the payroll, we have successfully linked the payroll database with the Ghana card database in spite of the initial outcry and resistance. It is therefore not possible for any individual to put names of persons on the payroll without going through the due process.
Let's do some more stories. The state prosecution has sought the testimony of the first witness of 11 witnesses in the build-up of the case against former CEO of Men's Gold, Nana Appiah-Mensah, Men's Gold Ghana Limited, and Brew Marketing Consult. Now, Stephen Atipo, a civil engineer, told the courts that the accused misrepresented themselves and that caused him to invest about 5.2 million in Men's Gold. Lord Eduasari sat through the proceedings and reports.
Stephen Atipo, a civil engineer, told the court that he engaged Men's Gold by purchasing gold from Brew Marketing Consult in order to invest with the Gold Vault trading platform, all under Men's Gold, in June 2018. He noted that he had 7 separate trading agreements with Men's Gold between June and July 2018, totaling 5.2 million Ghana cedis. The court admitted his witness statement as evidence in chief. During cross-examination, counsel for Nam1, Kwame Boafo Ekufu, told the witness he took an investment risk and lost out. He noted that since there were no protestations by the witness until the Security and Exchange Commission shut down the company, Mr. Atipo could not claim he had been defrauded by the accused persons. Spokesperson of the aggrieved Men's Gold customers, Frederick Forson, expressed satisfaction after the courts discharged prosecution's first witness.
I think the facts were clearly, but the issues came out. And I believe that the
responses that the defense team wanted had, or what the court was looking for, it was made clear to them. And so we expect it to go this way. We had even expected that in a day they can do like 2 witnesses.
Together with Men's Gold Ghana Limited and Brew Marketing Consult, Nana Appiah Mensah has pleaded not guilty and entered a not guilty plea on behalf of his companies as well. The charges are 39 counts of selling gold without a license, operating a deposit-taking business without a license, inducement to invest, defrauding by false pretense, fraudulent breach of trust, and money laundering. The case has been adjourned to January 15 for the prosecution to call on the second witness. Lodi Dwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
On to some education stories now. And 2 million of Ghana's basic school children are forced to sit on the classroom floor during teaching and learning across the country. The latest, according to research by the Africa Education Watch, details the growing gap in funding basic education in the country. Now, the group wants urgent government intervention to address the challenge.
The challenges of basic education continue to be a thorny subject for Ghana's education watchers. The latest report by Africa Education Watch paints a gloomy picture of what has been repeated calls of a widening gap in quality. According to the survey, which details the impact of desk deficit in public basic schools, as many as 2 million children resorted to bare classroom floors or makeshift structures to imbibe knowledge. Per the data source from the Ghana Education Service, 596,949 kindergarten pupils are without desks. That figure gets worse with up to 1.3 million primary school pupils across the country without desks. For JHS pupils, as many as 425,000 are without desks. For EduWatch, the numbers point to a need for at least 70% of the Ghana Education Tertiary Fund GET Fund to infrastructure.
We'd have to see 70% of the GET Fund resources going to infrastructure projects, and then out of that allocation, we should also see that 50% is going to address the infrastructure deficit in our schools at the basic education level specifically. That's where the infrastructure needs are the more. And then out of that, we prioritize desk situations where we can get maybe around 30% out of that 50% allocation to infrastructure needs at the basic education level to address the desk deficit.
The Principal Programs Officer of the Ministry of Education, Isaac Ataba, argued that most of the challenges in the education sector, as portrayed by the media, are politically influenced.
This year, we'll take data and then we act on it next year. So if today you rely on today's data and then make projections, then of course you may be wrong. Yes, some of the issues exist, and so Ministry of Education is also liaising with other agencies and then assemblies to provide a lot of furniture for schools in Ghana.
The Africa Education Watch presented a scope study report on the impact of desk deficits in public schools on girls' participation in basic school in Ghana.
Also on education, an education think tank has made some recommendations in addressing the desk deficit in basic schools. Kofi Asari is Executive Director of Africa Education Watch.
Beyond mobilizing the corporate sector to support, as we are strategizing, 2 other things are being done. First is that we are strengthening our engagement in the Ministry of Finance to ensure that GET Fund, as allocated for basic education infrastructure, is released timeously and in adequate proportions. That is the first we are doing. We've called on Parliament to exact its accountability oversight on the Ministry of Finance and compel the ministry to release the GET Fund allocation, for basic education infrastructure. In the past 5, 6, 7 years, GET Fund has hardly allocated or has hardly disbursed more than 50% of allocated funds end of year. And it appears we are going for a similar situation this year. It is not the best, and so we want to see much more parliamentary oversight brought to bear on the Ministry of Finance to release allocated funds. In addition to that, early next year, we are going to undertake a field monitoring of desks procured with funds from Get Fund. This year, out of the 15 or so million that was allocated for DEX, 6 million has been released. And we are working with the FPM, the Funds Procurement and Management Unit of the Ministry of Education and Get Fund, to ensure that the procurement of DEX, is expedited. And then get to the schools as early as January. So we are going to be doing a participatory monitoring with these two agencies and the media in January to ensure that the 6 million that has been released, DEX are procured and supplied to schools to enhance girls' participation in basic education, especially.
To one of our headline stories now, in COCOBO is poised to receive the initial $600 million tranche from an $800 million syndicated loan from banks later this week. However, while welcoming the news, the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association has stated that it expects COCOBO to begin immediate payment of its members upon receipt of funds.
Speculation on the expected release of the $600 million was made by the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of COCOBO, Ray Ankra, in an interview with international news agency Reuters. Ghana annually secures a syndicated loan to fund cocoa beans purchase from farmers, but this year's disbursement faced delays due to the country's ongoing economic challenges and efforts towards debt restructuring. The anticipated fund is expected to bolster Ghana's reserves while stabilizing the economy and the local currency. This $800 million marks a decade low. However, COCOBO intends to capitalize on high cocoa prices by selling a portion of the crop on the spot market. In response to news of the impending fund release, the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association, Anani Boateng, welcomed the development while urging COCOBO to promptly settle outstanding payments owed to farmers for their cocoa beans.
We are having a lot of challenges. We are in the Christmas mood, and we know we can cocoa farmers. This is our time. Our work is an annual work. And when we started selling our product to PBCs and COCOBO, it has become difficult for us to get our money. We've complained so much, but nobody is responding. So if by God's grace and the money is paid now, then we are glad. We expect the monies to be paid and to settle all our funds. So if it is come, then it's God's grace. We are happy about it.
Michael Obodu, 3 Business, Accra.
And that's our wrap of the 6 a.m. news here on TV3. My name is Judith Brown. We'll go for a short break and we're back with the rest of New Day. Good morning.